Welcome all you +2 comedy modifiers back to the stream. Welcome back to Solving the Witness, a laid-back annotated let's play where I try to uncover the deep underlying secrets of Jonathan Blow's The Witness. Quick little jump in right here at the beginning. The beginning of this, I have a newbie in the chat that has not seen this game, so I spend the first couple minutes kind of explaining the game and kind of going over stuff we've already gone over. If you don't want to see that, you can skip to the time code that I'm throwing on screen now, or you can hang out. It's a good recap of things that I think about the game and my personal feelings, and this is the Shipwreck episode, so we're finally going to go to the Shipwreck, so I understand if you want to jump right into that. Now, without any further ado, take it away, me in the past.
Welcome all you +2 comedy modifiers back to the stream. Welcome back to Solving the Witness, a laid-back, discussional, annotated let's play where we try to discover the deeper, underlying meanings behind the witness. Is that an audio thing? No. Just a weird white dot. Cool. So I believe I've activated all of the lasers. Surprisingly, the lake seems to say otherwise. The lake, as always, represents a map of the island, and as you can see here, this audio clip has not been found because the flower is not open. This secret door has not been opened because the clan is closed. And this represents the shipwreck. So the shipwreck is where we need to be headed next. I just want to take a brief look at this here map and see if there's anything else we want to do. So something here. Don't know where that would be. Trying to line it up with the boat. Okay, so missing an audio there. All these audios are found because the flower is open. There's that weird thing under the water again. Missing a bunch of stuff here, but I think that's all in the mountain. I think that represents the mountain over there. Bunch of yellow ones. Don't know what the difference is between a white one and a yellow one, but I thought for sure last time we looked at this that I had not activated one of the lasers. Hey, what's up? Aloha! Glomp, Mrs. Falls for... Oh no, you fell in the lily pond. Sorry. 9 plus 4. Did I say what my current count is? My current count is 384 puzzles plus 72. So that's where we're at currently. Yeah, I think I keep hearing that like noise, but I think it's just the lasers. And now that I have so many lasers activated, I just hear them everywhere. Alright, so I want to make my way around so I can go to the shipwreck, because we're headed to the shipwreck today. How are you guys doing? Thanks for joining me here for a little discussion on the witness. It looks like maybe I came here before the town laser had fully lit up. And that's why it looked like I was missing one of these. This represents a laser. Alright, so how do I get around again? Let's see. We're going to the shipwreck. Actually, before I go to the shipwreck, we're going to do this every episode for a while. I'm going to turn on and turn off the windmill and see if it does anything weird. So we're just going to turn it off. I still think there's something secret about this windmill, but I don't have a method yet, so now I'm just kind of doing things randomly and see if I learn anything. JP, congratulations on your existence. How familiar are you with the witness? This is meant to be a conversation. Right, I was already in the keep. Like, that's how I get into the boat. So I don't know why I ran away from the thing I needed to be at, but that's what I did. You know less than Jon Snow. Oh, well, you've decided to come into a very strange game very late into it. The Witness is a game about drawing lines and perspective. There's a nice little example here that I'll show off real quick. So right here, the sun kind of hits all these twigs and cloths and bricks in such a way that it makes a woman appear on this rock. So from this one perspective, it creates a woman. And if you want, you can kind of join in. You can kind of hold her hand, get scritches. Now I'm trying to get to a place where there are puzzles, because I've solved most of them. Yeah, this is a very cool game. Now, the thing about this game that, at least I believe, is I don't think, while many people have beaten it and many people have solved it, you can see I've solved all these puzzles already. I don't think, or many people have beaten it, many people have completed it. I don't think anyone solved it. There are exactly 664 puzzles in this. I believe there are 2 more that need to be solved. So that's kind of the thesis statement of this Let's Play. Now, as much as I love having you here, I will say, if you've never played this game, it is free on PlayStation.
Editor Noah jumping in because player Noah is just flying past this. This is one of 3, I believe there are 3 lookout points. There are these little spots where it looks like it is set up for someone to sit and kind of relax and look out. Now, the first thing I want to point out is the pillow, which does have that lotus symbol that I was talking about in a previous episode that kind of mirrors a lotus symbol that we saw in a cloud up in the sky. Basically, the idea that there is some sort of company branding that's going on here. Maybe it's just the company of the pillow. But it definitely seems like this symbol is important and represents something that man is creating and attempting to display. Now, the 3 locations of these seats is one is here, which is kind of just looking out over like a cliff across the ocean. There's another one that's over by, I think they call it the peninsula. It's the area with no puzzles. And the bamboo forest, it's like the beach right outside the bamboo or sound jungle. And it's also just kind of looking out across the ocean. The third is on top of the starting area. It's that little building that you start in. If you climb on top of that, there is a pillow that is facing the mountain, along with an audio clip about not ever meeting the maker of this house. So that one seems to be the outlier of the other 2. The other 2 are looking out, while this one is looking at the mountain, which is clearly one of the most important locations in the game. When you first discover this area, there should be no lasers on. But once you've completed all the lasers, it's quite the view seeing all the lasers pointing at the top of this mountain. So I find it an interesting parallel that there is one spot which is focused on the most important place on the island, and then 2 spots that are focused away from the island, looking out into nothing, seeing what is there. So I think it's very interesting to have this idea of internal reflection of the island and then outward reflection into the world in these 2 other places. I think these are the only 2 places that I can find that have these kind of relaxation spots set up. If there are more, please let me know in the comments down below.
And not like PlayStation Plus free. It's just free. They made it free. So this is the area known as the Shipwreck. This implies a couple very interesting things. One thing that I've been saying about this game the whole time is that there does not appear to be time in this game. But this is clearly a dilapidated boat. Like, it looks like this boat has been here for quite some time. So it makes me wonder, what was this boat bringing? Was this a cruise ship? Was this, a freighter? It's hard to say.
All right, time for my first theory of the meaning of this boat. And it's a rather simple one. This game likes to use colors to show relationships. I mean, even in the puzzles themselves, when there are squares, you want to group the colors together. When there are suns, you want to pair them off together. This boat is very, very orange. So I would like to pitch this theory out to you first. This ship is what brought the storage containers, the orange shipping containers. This is the boat that brought all those materials, because we believe that there are metal materials inside these things, that to the island, and then it broke. It wrecked, it tore apart, and that's why the storage containers are still there. Because I've said many times, like, it's weird that these empty things are just sitting around. They're serving really no purpose since they're not being used to store anything. Well, the answer to that could be they were supposed to leave. They were supposed to be loaded back on this ship, but then the ship wrecked. This is probably the least fun of the theories, but Occam's razor, you should probably include the obvious answer, and I feel like this is the most obvious answer to the ship. The ship's job was to bring materials to the island, and then it broke, and that's why the orange shipping containers are still around. More fun theories coming soon.
I think I already missed the thing I was looking for. There is a hidden panel somewhere. There it is. So here's the deal with the Witness. I'll explain it very quickly. All of the puzzles start at the circle, like this. And then you have to draw your way to the little end point, which is here. But that was incorrect. Puzzles can have symbols on it like this that add rules. But they don't tell you what the rules what the rules are. That's kind of a thing that you need to figure out on your own. Now, I've solved many a puzzle like this, and a triangle means that the line should touch the square that the triangle is contained in exactly once. Since there are two triangles here, the correct way to solve it is to touch it twice. And that's a correct puzzle. So that's kind of like level 1 of this game. There are many different layers to this game, and I'll show off a few more in a moment. Now, if I recall correctly, I want to come in here. A lot of rope. See, there's not a lot in here, almost implying that, ooh, look at that. There's a perspective thing. There's like a rock lady.
Now that I'm zoomed in, I really don't know if I see it. It really just kind of looks like a leg, and I just really want it to mean something. I'm not even sure why I think it's a female. If you look at it, it could be a very muscular leg. I guess the other way of looking at it is it's kind of like a dress, and then her foot is kind of sticking out of it. I don't even know if you can see it. But it felt to me like I was misseeing it. Like there was another angle I was supposed to be looking that would let me really clearly see a woman laying there. I wanted this because it would be a nice kind of example of what happened to the people on the ship. Because we have been kind of experimenting with this idea that the environmental perspective puzzles are reflections of things that actually happened on the island. I know I've said this before, but it bears repeating, like the fire tree. There's a certain way to look that it looks like a man setting a fire, and if you look from another angle, it's clear that there actually was a fire on that tree. So the idea that this is showing someone who has died in the shipwreck made a lot of sense to me. It kind of goes against our other theories in that it's stone, and that would put it kind of in the same category as the statues, which we have been saying is a different thing. So I don't really believe in this one anymore, but since I say it so many times, and I think I go back to it later in this video, I just wanted to voice it to you guys. Do you think there's perhaps a body laying at the bottom of this ocean? And if there is there a better way for me to see it? Because I certainly didn't find it.
Like you can kind of see like a leg coming up this way. I wonder if there's a better way I can look at that. Boat is so loud. No, it doesn't seem to be a better perspective this way. I thought I could possibly walk this way, but I can't walk this way. It's creepy. It's a creepy area. This looks like a fun place to run and jump off. Not a thing I can do in the game, but it looks like fun. There's a whole area of the boat I can't go to, and a tree is growing there. I mean, this alone would imply that this boat has to have been here for decades for a tree to grow, unless it was transporting the tree. But then the tree's continuing to grow. That tree should be dead.
A tree that can grow in salt water is called a mangrove. It's not all philosophy. Sometimes you just learn fun facts.
That's a very interesting little area over there. And it's inaccessible. I can't swim in this game, so. Yeah, lots of trees growing through this. How are you even growing? You a weird-ass tree, or you... There's no dirt there. It's very unnatural. Alright, time for layer number 2 of this game. The environment can also be puzzles. I just cut myself in half. How am I turning? Shadows acting weird. That goes. I've already been over there. Alright. I know that there's a few more things I gotta find in here. I think one's up here. Yes, this is the area I was looking for. So, this appears to be where the instruments were. This is where you would, direct the boat, but all the computers appear to have been removed. So that implies a few things. That implies that this has already been looted many times, because that would be something of value, and thus it has been taken. It could also just simply be a situation of, since the whole game is about panels and screens, they removed as many panels and screens that don't add to the puzzles.
So one thing that super bothered me about this boat is that there are no controls, there are no buttons, there are no switches, there's not even a turning wheel. I think the easy solution to that is this island has no buttons, it has no switches, it has no turning wheels, other than the windmill, I guess. So this stuff had to be removed, or else they would be puzzles. That's kind of the game design explanation for this, but in terms of a lore perspective of this, I'll get into that in a moment.
I thought maybe I could see more of what I believe to be a stone woman, but no. There's also these little... this is definitely a thing. Hold on. No, that's not it. Gotta get the right perspective. There it is. Boom. And I bet the ropes themselves are one. I bet I could do this. Yep. Damn it, there's rocks in the way. It's all about perspective. So if you're standing somewhere where you can't complete the circuit, oh damn it, because there's another thing in the way. Alright, so I gotta be like here maybe. Boom. Wonder if it means anything that it's blue. Like the different dust that comes off of it. There's also these little bits of philosophy. So let's listen to this recording.
A shipowner was about to send to sea an emigrant ship. He knew that she was old and not well built at the first, that she had seen many seas and climes, and often had needed repairs. Doubts had been suggested to him that possibly she was not seaworthy. These doubts preyed upon his mind and made him unhappy. He thought that perhaps he ought to have her thoroughly overhauled and refitted, even though this should put him at great expense. Before the ship sailed, however, he succeeded in overcoming these melancholy reflections. He said to himself that she had gone safely through so many voyages and weathered so many storms that it was idle to suppose she would not come safely home from this trip also. He would put his trust in Providence, which could hardly fail to protect all these unhappy families that were leaving their fatherland to seek for better times elsewhere.
Oh, so like an
He would dismiss from his mind all ungenerous suspicions about the honesty of builders and contractors. In such ways, he acquired a sincere and comfortable conviction that his vessel was thoroughly safe and seaworthy. He watched her departure with a light heart and benevolent wishes for the success of the exiles in their strange new home that was to be. And he got his insurance money when she went down in mid-ocean and told no tales. What shall we say of him? Surely this, that he was verily guilty of the death of those families. It is admitted that he did sincerely believe in the soundness of his ship, but the sincerity of his conviction can in no wise help him, because he had no right to believe on such evidence as was before him. He had acquired his belief not by honestly earning it in patient investigation, but by stifling his doubts. And although in the end he may have felt so sure about it that he could not think otherwise, yet inasmuch as he had knowingly and willingly worked himself into that frame of mind, he must be held responsible for it. William K. Clifford, 1874.
I'm sorry, Mr. Clifford, for interrupting you there. So again, the sound clips usually have something to do with where you find them. So the fact that was about a shipwreck seems very fitting. Though I wouldn't say that this is mid-ocean. It's very close to an island. But basically, he had convinced himself that he was going to do his due diligence, and then he didn't. And he convinced himself that was the right thing to do because he believed in his ship. And there's nothing wrong with believing in something or someone, but his lack of recognition that he had made a mistake is what cost him. So I think the overall message about this is to be open-minded and to learn from your mistakes. All he did was benefit them. Yes, the ship crashed and it killed a lot of people, but he ended up making money off of it, which is another weird thing. But it almost seems like the message is to do your due diligence and question your own beliefs. And that's kind of what I've been doing with this whole Let's Play, is to just question everything and see if I can discover anything.
Settle in. I got a lot to say about William Clifford. So this piece, I think, is very fitting for what I keep talking about. I'm still harping on the idea that there is no time. And that is just simply incorrect. It's just that time is not progressing while I am there. Because the sun's not moving, and I keep saying things like, the sun must be in this position to make everything work, and all that jazz. That does not mean that there is no time. Now, what the piece that we've just listened to is trying to express is that the person who was driving the ship, the captain, they were faced with the evidence that the ship would not hold together. But they ignored that evidence because of their beliefs. And when they went sailing, he legitimately did not think that the ship would sink, but it did. It's not that he was like, we'll just risk it. He didn't think it was a risk. He did not believe it would happen. So the fact that he was facing the evidence, he was still blinded by his own personal beliefs. This is like one of the 6 principles of the witness, the idea that our own personal beliefs kind of blind us to the important things that are right in front of us. For example, if, say, somebody had a theory about the witness that there is no time, and then looked out into the ocean and saw a tree that had clearly grown in a shipwreck, which would imply the passage of time must have happened because the ship must have crashed and then the tree must have grown later. The person with this theory would be blind to this because they're trying to shoehorn this timeless theory into existence. So I think it's a nice little parallel that I keep doing this in these Let's Plays, where I'm pushing this theory that there is no time, despite being faced with other evidence because of my personal beliefs that are being held on to there. Little thing that I want to bring up is, of course, the fact that the audio clips positioning, where they are found in the island, usually reflects the environment. So this is about a shipwreck, and it's found on a shipwreck. Now, it should be noted that the shipwreck in the audio clip says to have happened in the middle of the ocean. So I guess you could make the assumption that this is giving us the information that the ship did not wreck here. It actually just washed up here, which I don't know if I want to buy that idea, but it's definitely an interesting idea that the ship wrecks elsewhere and then arrives here, that it just kind of washes up here. Because there's not really a cause for the shipwreck anywhere around. It's not like, oh, this is the thing it tore its hull on, and then it sank. So let's just play with this idea as I continue to talk about this idea that the ship crashed elsewhere and then just happened to wash up here. Now, there's another theory about this because this is not the only clip that we hear from William K. Clifford. We hear another clip that takes place in The Keep that's actually from the same book, The Ethics of Belief, and I'll play that for you right now.
If a man, holding a belief which he was taught in childhood or persuaded of afterwards, keeps down and pushes away any doubts which arise about it in his mind, purposely avoids the reading of books and the company of men that call into question or discuss it, and regards as impious those questions which cannot easily be asked without disturbing it, the life of that man is one long sin against mankind. But, says one, I am a busy man. I have no time for the long course of study which would be necessary to make me in any degree a competent judge of certain questions, or even able to understand the nature of the arguments. Then he should have no time to believe. William K. Clifford, 1874.
So it may seem to make sense that this is just part 1 and part 2 of the story. You get this part here, and then the idea of a man with beliefs that they choose to hold on to is kind of like tearing them down, and that's the end of it. The thing is, there is a huge gap of information that is in between these 2 quotes. And I want to again express the importance of the location of the sound clips. The second sound clip that you heard is next to a man carrying these bags, right? And we have heard this clip before, and I believe we theorized that like he's being weighed down by his own beliefs was the idea, or that his beliefs were in fact garbage that were weighing him down. Let's try another theory. Let's assume that we should actually have the entire writing in between this first quote on the ship and the second quote here in the keep. We just don't hear it because that is the time in between this man starting on the ship and ending in the keep. We talk about how, a little bit earlier, about how, like, the buttons and the controls to the ship are missing. What if this man is a looter? What if this man found the ship, looted all of its controls and electronics, put them in their bags, and then drug it away? That's why they're no longer present here. Because there's no, like, for all the rusted remains of this ship, there is no evidence of any type of control panel. Whether it be as simple as something that turns a rudder, or navigations, or anything that would make a ship work. All of that is gone. So it has to have gone somewhere. I would like to now point out to you what is said in between these two quotes. Okay, so the quote ends with, yet it is as much as it, oh, I'm sorry. What do we say of him? Surely this is that he is very guilty of the death of those men, right? So basically, even though he didn't believe this would happen, he's still responsible for it. It goes on to say, after this quote, let us alter the case a little. Suppose that the ship was not unsound after all. The ship made the voyage safely, and many others after it. Will this diminish the guilt of the owner? Not one jot. When the answer is once done, it is right or wrong or ever. No accidental failure of its goods or evil fruits can possibly alter that. The man would not have been innocent. He would only have not found out. The question of right and wrong has to do with the origin of his belief, not the matter of it, not what it was, but how he got it. Not whether it turned out to be true or false, but whether he had the right to believe on such evidence as was before him. So basically what this is saying is, let's say the ship didn't wreck. The ship is still unsafe. He is still believing it'll be fine and has convinced himself it is not unsafe, but that doesn't take away the truth that it is unsafe. Just because they made the trip successfully does not prove him correct that the ship is safe. He is still putting all those men's lives at risk because the ship is in fact unsafe, even though he doesn't believe that, and the ship made it safely. Okay? I gotta scroll down. It then goes on to say, there was once an island in which some inhabitants professed a religion teaching neither of the doctrine of original sin nor that of eternal punishment. So there was no hell. A suspicion got abroad that the professors of this religion had made use of unfair means to get their doctrines taught to children. They were accused of wresting the laws of their country in such a way as to remove children from the care of their natural and legal guardians, and even stealing them away and keeping them concealed from their friends and relations. In other words, there was a religion on the island that was so firmly believed that professors kept people from looking elsewhere for information. Hold on to that. A certain number of men formed themselves into a society for the purpose of aggregating the public of this matter. They published grave accusations against individual citizens of the highest position and character, and did all in their power to injure these citizens in their exercise of these professions. So great were the noise that they made that a commission was appointed to investigate the facts. But after the commission had carefully inquired into all the evidence they could be got, it appeared that the accused were innocent. Not only had they been accused with insufficient evidence, I have to scroll, but the evidence of their innocence was such as the adjugators might easily be obtained if they had attempted a fair inquiry. After these disclosures, the inhabitants of the country looked upon the members of the society not only as persons whose judgment was to be distrusted, but also as no longer to be counted honorable men. For although they had sincerely and conscientiously believed in the charges that were made, yet they had no right to believe on such evidence as was before them. Their sincere convictions, instead of being honestly earned by patient inquiry, was stolen by listening to the voices of prejudice and passion. So, in other words, even though these men were right to accuse these people of pushing their religion, they didn't have the evidence to confirm that their beliefs were correct, which is kind of creating the same sort of problem as the ship of without evidence, without being sure, your beliefs really shouldn't mean anything. Evidence is key, even though they were right. Here is my insane theory on all of this. What we have here is a continuation of the ethics of belief that is found from the ship in the keep. The part that has been removed, there's more that has been removed that I'm not going to go into, but because it's a lot to read. But the part that is immediately removed, the next part that you would really be reading, is about an island that had intense beliefs. And on this island, there were people who purposely hid things away, like this passage, to maintain the truth of their island. So let's say the island in this story is the island in the Witness. The island in the Witness is based off of the idea of lines do everything. Everything works by drawing a line. They appear naturally in nature even. That's how important these lines are. There is not a button, there is not a lever, there is not a simple machine to be found. Everything runs off of these lines being drawn. And then one day, an odd boat washes up on the shores. When they get there, they find all these instruments, steering mechanisms, GPS, power systems, all that work on buttons and switches. All things that would make the inhabitants of the island question the idea that lines do everything. So a man boards the ship and loots all of this. And now we see him in the keep, holding them, as in they're in trash bags, hiding the evidence of the truth that is out there from the inhabitants of the island. I don't think I have enough evidence to prove that this is exactly what has happened, but it's something I believe could have happened. Which is wrong of me to do, because I shouldn't speculate. I should have more evidence. But I do have the evidence that we have a man with a bag full of something that he does seem to be carrying as if it is garbage, and we have a ship that is full, that should be full of equipment, because that's how ships work, but it's all gone without a trace. It is wrong of me to speculate this, because I am putting out there something that I cannot prove. I know that. But I'm still going to do it because it makes a good YouTube video.
This hole seems suspicious. That's why I'm checking it out so much. I'm not familiar with what that's from. The two things I noticed about the subtitles, this is the reason why I always keep subtitles on. There was a random underline that showed up that I need to go back and look at again. I don't know why something was underlined.
Just jumping in there to explain the underline thing, the lines that have those weird like underscores by it is because he had no right to believe on such evidence as was before him. The reason I believe, that's a scary word, that the underlines are there is in the original text that I have, The Ethics of Belief by William K. Clifford. That line is in italics. I think that is supposed to be italics, but it for some reason isn't, and that's why the underline is there. That's my theory.
And two, the word Providence was capitalized, implying that was the name of the ship.
I did a little bit of research of the idea that the ship's name is Providence. There's a couple ships called Providence. Providence is a class of cruiser, also a class of cruiser in Star Wars. It's a ship that fought in the Revolutionary War, the USS Providence. And also it's a ship in Pirates of the Caribbean. Fun facts. Was that fun?
So perhaps the name of the ship is Providence? Which, I don't know what that could mean. I know it's the capital of Rhode Island, but... Going back down into the bowels of the ship here. I'm just trying to identify maybe something in the water that would have come from the ship. There's that hole I wanted to look at again. Holes work both ways. You can look up at holes. Sometimes you can see some stuff that way. That looks phallic. Cool. That totally looks like I should be able to walk on it. But I can't. I know I think I saw another environmental puzzle. So let me go try to grab that really quick. Just looking in the water. Some more ropes. I find this whole area so suspicious. Man, water effects are freaking great in this game, too. There's the panel. Already found that. But this is so line-like. I feel like there's gotta be... Yeah, like that looks like the beginning of an environmental puzzle. See if we can make that work. Like this. Am I too close? Yeah, I'm getting it now. I like that little clue. Whoosh. Oh, and that's another one. Oh, and here's a third. That's very interesting. I think it's also... This is making a very interesting point. So where I'm standing is surrounded by three of them, but the three environmental puzzles are legitimately made up of negative space. So this tiny piece of metal there, this tiny piece of metal here, and this tiny piece of metal here are holding up this entire thing that I'm standing on. Like, that's kind of scary to think about. Like, I could easily plunge into the ocean. I'm trying to see if there's anything like... It doesn't look like it's that horrible of a fall, other than the fact that I'd be falling with a bunch of, like, old rusty metal.
I know I talk about it in the Let's Play, but I want to talk about it a little bit more here, just because it ties in so nicely with my idea that the lines and the environmental puzzles on the island kind of reflect a belief and religion of the people that used to be on the island. And in this scenario, you put your body in a very dangerous position. And in the game, the puzzles are what's important. Your character really isn't. You don't really know anything about the person you're playing because it's kind of just you. And you risk yourself to draw these lines that you don't know what they do. You definitely shouldn't know at this point what they do. I currently still don't know what the environmental puzzles really do, but you blindly risk your safety by putting yourself in this position of vulnerability with all this jagged, sharp metal around you in order to draw these lines because you believe they might do something eventually. And in this scenario, it's the negative space of the ship. So the lines and the environmental puzzles in this specific moment are a negative thing. So I think this is some nice kind of like environmental storytelling that should make you question whether doing these environmental puzzles is a worthwhile endeavor. Because if this was a real situation, you had just climbed upon a abandoned shipwreck and put yourself in the most dangerous position there just so you could go. So this really begs a nice question of like, really should we be doing this, and what is the value of doing this other than the fact that it's there?
My footstep made a weird noise. But it was interesting that the environmental puzzles, which by the time you get here, you often are well aware of, are kind of showing you the danger you're in. And they can only be seen from there. So, like, and at this point in the game, and for myself as well, you don't know why you would even need these environmental puzzles. Like, I don't know what they do. But here I am, like, risking my safety for them. Just interesting thoughts. This kind of looks like jack-o'-lantern. That's a less interesting thought. Can I walk on this? Totally looks like it wants me to. That's so weird. So I know that there's one more thing I gotta do here, but I can't seem to find it. Is it down into the depths of the ship? Oh, there's another staircase. There we go.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Solving the Witness. Let's go through our takeaways. I write them on an index card if you didn't know that. First is the lookout point. We have the one that's right out here by the ship. There's one by the bamboo forest or the noise jungle, whatever you want to call it. And then there's one on top of the starting building. Is there another one? What are their purposes? And what is that design on the pillow? Let me know. 2, the boat and the orange shipping containers. Are they tied together because they're orange and the game likes to tie things together with colors? Let me know. Do you see the stone woman? Do you see a body laying at the ocean floor? Or was it just player Noah being silly? Let me know. The mangrove, the tree, it's growing in salt water. It's pretty cool. Comments? The boat has no buttons, and that ties into this idea that William K. Clifford doesn't want you to have beliefs that are incorrect or have insufficient evidence. Do you think that perhaps this is a reflection on the fact that the island had a religion based around lines? It's such a jump. William K. Clifford would smack me for this. The underlined line, do you think that means something more than what I've just said of just representing italics? The ship name being Providence, is that even the reason why the word Providence was capitalized, or is there more to it? And finally, the negative space triangle dangerous situation of environmental puzzles. Is this meant to communicate that perhaps the search for environmental puzzles is not a worthwhile endeavor? Let me know all your comments in the comments down below. That's why they're called the comments. Thank you so much for watching me and joining for another edition of Solving the Witness. I hope you enjoy. Be sure to subscribe right here, the +2 Comedy Gaming, so you'll get a notification next time we try to solve the Witness.